Hello and welcome to another episode of Cigar Time. I am Scott Atkinson. I am guest hosting this week for the Ashman. Yeah. We've got our the normal cast of characters here. On my left, my right is Rob.
How you doing, everybody?
Next to him we have Joe Winder from Perdomo, our guest panelist.
Good afternoon.
Next is Paul.
Hello.
And to his right, of course, is Tia.
Oh, hi. Just Tia? Just Tia?
Yeah.
I was shocked. Just Tia.
Just Tia this
That's
week.
all.
Tia this week.
All right.
Lovely Miss
The
Tia.
divine.
So
Exactly.
the divine Miss Tia is now going to introduce the first cigar.
Yes.
All right. The
Thank
first
you.
cigar is the
You guys want to bring your
Perdomo.
cigars out too?
Oh, yes. It's the Perdomo 20th anniversary. It's a Maduro. The wrapper is a Habano Maduro. The binder's a Nicaraguan, and the filler is a Nicaraguan. 1 second. She's going to light me up.
So it is a Nicaraguan.
Nicaraguan Puro.
Puro.
That is
Nicaraguan
correct.
Puros.
Absolutely.
As are most of our cigars. As I mentioned earlier, our champagne, obviously, we have to buy the Connecticut shade.
Did you see how she
Wrapper,
toasted me?
the-
Very nice. Very nice.
The
So I'm going to
typic-
keep going with the sizes. The sizes are a Churchill, a double Corona, a Gordo, a Robusto, a Toro, and a Torpedo. The taste profile are toasty notes of coca, coffee,
Thank you,
leather,
thank you.
subtle hints of sweet pepper, and little earthy tones. And back
Right.
to Scott.
Well, I wanted to turn it over to Joe for a little bit. Joe, why don't you tell us what's going on with Perdomo these
Well,
days?
just a little bit more, I guess, on the 20th anniversary. It does utilize tobaccos. There are basically 3 major growing regions in Nicaragua. Esteli, where the soil is similar to the color of this cup. Very dark, very rich, gives us a very full flavored tobacco. A little farther north in Condega, you're going to get a slight aromatic quality from the tobacco. And then farther north in the Jalapa Valley, it imparts a slight sweetness to it. So it's a combination of all 3 of those tobaccos, which gives you a fairly complex cigar.
I'm tasting the sweetness on the wrapper right now.
Yeah, you mentioned
As I lit it up, right?
Take a drag.
you
Yeah.
mentioned the aroma too, and like Rob was lighting it, I could taste or I could smell the cedar from it.
Yeah.
right off the bat.
Here's a Corojo. Here's sun-grown. Here's
Yeah,
sun-grown.
there is 2 wrappers. There
was
is a
wondering about
sun-grown,
that.
sun-grown and Maduro. They are slightly box pressed. Because of that, we don't use a Connecticut wrapper on that because they are so fragile. It's difficult to press that and have that consistent without damaging the wrapper. So it's a little unusual for us. We typically have all 3 wrappers. We have a sun-grown, a Maduro, and a Connecticut. But again, in this particular cigar, we just have the sun-grown and Maduro. And the other thing a little unusual to this cigar, or not necessarily unusual, but because the wrapper is such a good-looking wrapper, we chose not to put this one in cellophane. So these do come naked.
Nice.
Naked.
We like naked here.
We do like naked.
Yeah.
Especially with the
As
cigars.
cigar smokers, I think we all prefer no
Naked?
cello.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
As men, we
They look
prefer
better in the
naked.
box.
They do look better
Yeah.
in the box.
But
as
as
salespeople, they look much better. Retailers, they look much
Yeah,
better
but
without the
it's
cellophane.
fragile though, because every time somebody touches a
I think,
cigar,
I think
it ruins
some
the
look
wrapper.
good in a cellophane, but something like this, no.
Nah,
It's too
this-
nice
Yeah,
to
it's too
And
nice.
I
Beautiful
understand
wrapper.
from the retailer standpoint with customers coming in.
Yeah, they
and
touch
picking
it,
up
they
the cigars.
damage the foot.
They
Yeah,
do.
Stick it in their
Or they
nose.
touch the head, and then people got to put the head in the
But
mouth.
leaving
so.
off the cello also helps keep some customers from feeling really stupid. And the reason I say that is they
They
won't
try to
make the
smell-
mistake of
trying
sniffing
to-
the cigar through the cellophane.
Try to smell it through
"Oh,
the
that's a
cellophane.
good
Yeah, that's true.
Vintage cellos
I was
have a
gonna.
lot.
I thought you were gonna say not being able to open it, figure out how to open it. I had
No.
this guy the other day. He couldn't figure out how to get the cigar out the cellophane.
Have you guys ever had a guy
Oh,
try to
like
light
that.
the cellophane?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I've never
I used
seen
to.
that.
I used to work over in Huntington Valley, and there was a guy who would come in all the time, and the cellophane was so tight on the cigar that he would literally light the foot of the cigar with the cellophane on it just so he could take it off.
I wonder how that
Yeah, it
tasted.
smelled terrible. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Wow.
Yeah,
It
tasty.
tasted real interesting.
Yeah, right.
So, Joe, what else is new with Perdomo?
Well, the 20th is our newest. Also this year, though, at our annual trade show, we did come out. We replaced our old Cuban Criollo, which was part of the 10th anniversary line, which includes the champagne. It was the Champagne Noir, and I say previously we had a Cuban Criollo. I said this past summer we replaced that with the Champagne Sun-Grown. So now the line is morphed I guess for the third time. This is the brand that used to be called La Tradicion. They came in the painted boxes. We
Very
had
box
the
pressed.
red and
Yeah.
the green
Like,
and
Right.
a,
the
like
white.
an extreme box
Box
press.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it went from that, it became the 10th anniversary, which again included a Maduro and the Cuban Criollo. And then a couple years ago, we replaced the Maduro with the Champagne Noir. And as I said, this year we replaced the Cuban Criollo with the Champagne Sun-Grown. So we are losing the 10th anniversary, partially because of the 20th,
Right.
just to avoid confusion, 20th, 10th. So this is now the Perdomo Reserve Champagne, Perdomo Reserve Champagne Noir for the Maduro, and the Perdomo Champagne Sun-Grown. So those are the three wrappers.
Yeah. We just reviewed the Sun-Grown a couple shows ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
It
did.
was really good.
We did.
Yeah,
It
we
was
did.
good.
Got a great
Also
rating
great
from
rating.
us.
All
Yeah.
the shit.
Absolutely.
Both of us, both the 20th anniversary and the Sun-Grown have gotten excellent ratings. The 20th anniversary consistently gets ratings in the 90, 92, 94. It was also voted by Cigar Journal last year as the best value brand of the year. And
I
if you
see
think
that.
about it,
Wow.
again, it tops out size-wise by a 7 by 56 at $10. And if you look at most guys that, if they have been in the business for 20 years, they're typically trying to sell you a cigar about the size of your finger for about $12.50 to
Yeah.
$15.
Yeah.
So for a
So the
true
double-
20th anniversary, a 7 by 56 in Pennsylvania to top out at $10 is an extremely good value.
Is that the double Corona?
Yes, yeah.
Cool.
Or President.
Or president?
Well, Joe, what we just to bring you up to speed, we've got a couple of different topics we talk about, and we would love to hear your input on any of them. And the first segment we have is Paul. Paul is actually in the. Where are you today? Are you in the field, the
In the
factory,
field or
the
the factory?
He was
store?
in the
Well,
factory
I'm
the
in
last time we left
I'm
him.
in the field.
You're back in the
in the
field?
Back in the field.
Okay.
All right.
Is that my cue? to
Yes,
say?
it is. Go ahead.
Well, you may remember if you saw our very first episode that we were talking about how the plant grows and how there are different layers of leaves on the plant. And I promised to come back to what each of those layers were. So I'm back out in the field to deliver on my promise.
All right. Is that why you're wearing the hat? Keep the sun out?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least you didn't ask me if I was all sweaty this time.
And it's a Perdomo hat, so
It is a
it's very,
Perdomo hat.
very appropriate.
So I have a prop. And we might show you this a different way later, but we'll use this anyway for now. As I mentioned originally, there are usually between 6 or 8 layers of leaves on a plant, on a tobacco plant. And at least 6 of them have a name. But we generally refer to all of the tobacco within 3 major groupings. The highest part of the plant is called Ligero. As you move down from there, it's called Seco. As you move down from there, it's called Velado. And if you go down from there, it's called stuff you don't want to smoke.
Sand
Is the
what-
cleanup?
yeah.
Is that why it says the cleanup?
I've heard some people refer to Velado as Viso. Is there?
No,
Are they
Viso and
confusing the
Velado
two?
are not the same.
What is Viso versus Velado then?
Velado is the lowest usable layer of the plant. Typically, it contributes nothing to the flavor at all, and the primary purpose is that it burns really well, so it balances the combustion of the whole cigar.
So I guess they would typically use that in the filler then?
Yes,
Because
they
of
would
the
only
burning
use it
characteristics?
in the filler.
Right.
Viso is a phrase that refers to leaves that are sort of on the borderline between the Seco and the Ligero. So they're not quite as intense as a Ligero leaf, but they're also not as thick, they're not as physically robust, which means they're more viable to use as a wrapper. So sometimes you'll find when people want to have a very intense wrapper, they might wish they could use Ligero, but often Ligero won't work because it's too thick, it's too much.
Okay.
That's when they'll use Viso.
Now, there are cigars that use Ligero as a wrapper. Is it the true Ligero, or are they actually using the Viso?
It's more likely to be a Viso. There are some people that actually use a Ligero wrapper, but it's really hard to do. It's not a pretty leaf, typically. And
Does it burn
again,
slower?
it has so much oil in it that it's sometimes hard to get it to burn at the right rate. And that's why you typically take Ligero and put it in the very middle of the cigar and surround it with some Secco and Velato, which helps it burn steady.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of the, as Paul was saying, the more flavorful tobacco doesn't always burn necessarily as evenly. So you'll use a leaf of something that might not have as much flavor, but it has a more consistent burn. And that's part of the blending
blending process,
processing,
right,
the
yeah,
master blender,
Right.
that's as much as the flavor, it has to burn consistently also.
Yeah, it's a great combination of science and art. I mean, the art
Yeah.
with the flavor and the science of the. A lot of people don't think
blending,
about.
yeah.
You really have to consider what tobacco goes where, not just for the flavor, but so that the cigar actually burns evenly.
And tastes good.
Yeah,
So when-
tasting good helps a
So a
lot.
question,
Yeah.
so when you have the pepper taste in the beginning and then you might go down to like a creamy in the middle, how does that work? Like how do you get that, flavor profile?
What you mean, like, why does it change?
Yeah, how does it change like that?
Typically what happens is when you first light a cigar, you're tasting only the wrapper burning at the very beginning. As soon as the inside leaves start to warm up from the flame, you start to get the other flavors developing around each of the leaves that are burning. So the phrase that people use is the cigar opens up, the flavor opens up,
Right.
and it
Right.
begins to hit the different parts of your palate.
All right.
Some people, and I might have mentioned this before, I'm not sure, but a very few people in this business will change the way they blend one part of the cigar and another part of the cigar. And what you might think is, since you're using long filler and you're making good cigars, that it's the same leaf all the way through. But occasionally a blender will decide to take a smaller piece of a particular leaf that will only be in one part of the cigar. Just as an example, when I'm blending a cigar, if it's going to be a Churchill or a double Corona or any of the longer formats, I find that it's easy to get bored in the back, the final third of the cigar.
Yeah.
So what we do is we put extra Ligero in the back end of the cigar.
Kick it
So
up a notch.
just when you hit the point where you
Right.
think you might get bored, you kick it up
Yeah.
and things change.
Okay.
Something hits you in the face, right?
Exactly.
I think that was
Nice.
more of where I was.
That's what you were
Yeah,
thinking
that's
about?
what I was thinking.
That's unusual. Most companies do not stick small amounts of a different leaf in different spots in the cigar. But for me, I like to orchestrate the experience so that it's changing all the time.
Well, yeah, I like something that's very complex and something that's going to change often, and that's
Right.
that's what
Yeah.
that is going to do.
That's what I find also, and I think what Nick does is that he blends his cigars more for the balance of flavor and the complexity as opposed to just strength. I mean, I find personally that a lot of these real powerhouse, full-body cigars, I don't find have a lot of flavor, or it's
Right.
a very one-dimensional
Right.
Yes.
flavor. It starts, middle, the end, it's all the same. You'll find in Perdomo cigar that the flavor, as Paul was saying, that you get the change as the body of the cigar heats up. You notice the changes in flavor.
I agree.
I mean, anyone can make a strong cigar. You can just fill it with Ligero, and it's going to knock the back of your head off. But
Some
But it
people
won't
like that
taste
too.
good.
but
It
they
won't
don't
taste
have
good,
any
right,
flavor.
right.
So I mean, and I guess there is a certain percentage of the market that is what they're looking for. But
Sure.
personally, I'm looking for the flavor, the
Flavor.
complexity, the balance.
Right.
I'll take flavor and complexity over power.
Oh,
raw
absolutely.
raw
Yes,
power.
definitely.
definitely.
anytime.
I was just going to
Absolutely.
say that
Yes.
some people go the other way. Some people want something so strong and full-bodied that all they want is something to knock them on their
Yeah.
butt, but there's no flavor. And then there are some people who want something so mild that it lacks any flavor at all,
And you look also then at our champagne, which is our mildest
Love that
cigar.
one.
but lots of
But
flavor.
it has a ton of flavor.
Yeah.
I know these guys open at 6 o'clock in the morning typically.
Yes.
And there's the guys that, again, typically would smoke a more full-bodied cigar later in the day. But at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, they're not looking for that strength, but they're looking for something that has a lot of flavor.
Right.
And I'll walk in the morning and there'll be several of the guys sitting around smoking champagne. So,
That's
You
appropriate.
come in at 6 o'clock in the morning with those guys?
well, not too often. I'm up by 6.
Not me.
He's
I'm
in
sound
by
asleep.
8, 9.
I'm on my third cigar by
Yeah, really. Well, your first was at 1 in the morning, so.
No, I'm not counting from there.
That's the
Oh,
end.
that's
That's
the-
the
that's
12th
the
cigar?
end? Yeah,
That's
that's
the
the
12th
12th
cigar?
cigar.
So he's at
Wow.
the third at 6. So what time you start the first?
About 5 o'clock.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Smoke one, walk in the dog. That's how I start my day.
All right.
something I should mention is that as you look at this view of the plant and the different leaves that are on it, one of the things you won't see on here is wrapper. And it's an interesting thing. You might ask yourself, okay, here's a plant, let's say it's a Habano. No, I don't want to use Habano, that's a wrapper leaf. But let's say whatever breed of tobacco this plant happens to be, unless it is bred to be a wrapper plant, you won't use the leaf for wrapper at all.
That's it. That actually was one of the questions that I had, is where does the wrapper leaf come from?
Typically, it's a completely separate plant, although it grows the same way.
Right.
And there's only a small portion of the wrapper plant that you can use as a wrapper. On the other hand, and this is again something that some people do, but very few, there are people who will take a wrapper plant and use...
She's very touchy-feely
Yeah.
today.
Put your hand down.
Put my hand down.
So I
but
can
then
see your
can't
face.
smoke
I was
my
just trying to do it really
cigar.
nice, yeah. I better stop getting in trouble.
I'm sorry, folks. Anyway, some people will use the leaf on a wrapper plant that you can't normally use as wrapper, and they'll use it in filler. But there are very, very few people in this industry that know how to blend fillers made out of wrapper. It's an unusual approach.
I would think so, yeah.
Isn't Connecticut, the Connecticut Valley, don't they breed them just for wrappers there?
The whole Connecticut Valley is all about wrapper, whether it's broadleaf or the shade-grown stuff.
Right.
And the Connecticut is in Connecticut.
The
Right.
original
The original,
Connecticut.
yeah.
Thus,
Yes.
thus the name.
That's
yes.
the name, yeah.
But
But
some
didn't they
peop-
move it?
Well, some
It
people
runs-
now
yeah.
call the Connecticut wrapper that's grown in Connecticut, they'll call it Connecticut. But they've taken that breed of seed and planted it in other countries. So there is a little bit of Honduran Connecticut. There's a whole lot of Ecuadorian Connecticut.
you.
That's really where
Watch
they
your,
took the
Joe,
seed.
watch your
Okay.
And these days,
And-
that's where
okay.
most of the Connecticut wrapper comes from. It doesn't come from Connecticut.
Okay.
At least not much.
And I believe in Ecuador, it's kind of the natural cloud cover there that kind of simulates the shade growing, the cheesecloth that they do in Connecticut.
Right.
But in Ecuador, it's kind of a naturalized thing with the cloud cover. that-
300 days a year in Ecuador of cloud cover. So instead of having to put the cheesecloth over the whole plantation, they just let the clouds do the work for them. In fact, some people call it cloud grown instead of shade grown.
Instead of shake.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did read that cloud growing. I was wondering what that meant.
So, do they have in Ecuador? Do they have sun grown?
Yeah, but Ecuadorian sun-grown is actually way harder to grow than sun-grown anywhere else. And the reason is because there isn't so much direct sun.
Getting the
Right.
direct sunlight.
So you either have to go to a whole different zone in the country, which is not typically a great idea, or the growers that I know, what we typically do, if we want sun-grown, is you take a hill within the plantation, facing west. It's got to be facing west.
Right.
Because at the end of the afternoon, the sun drops below the clouds, and you get a few hours of direct sun in the afternoon, but only from the west. So
Right.
if you planted on the east side of the hill and wanted sun-grown, you're out of luck.
Wow, that's a shame.
And then in Ecuadorian Sumatra, where does the Sumatra come from?
Sumatra was a seed, a breed of tobacco that came from Sumatra in Indonesia. And Sumatra from Indonesia is sometimes just called Indonesian now. In the 1940s, they brought Indonesian seeds to Ecuador and crossbred them with Cameroon, which is something that we're going to talk about soon. They crossbred it with Cameroon, and that became Ecuador Sumatra. Most people don't realize that there's Cameroon bred
I
into
did not know
Ecuador
that.
Sumatra.
Nice.
I think you mentioned that on another show, actually.
Which is why
Okay.
Rob
Or was
loves
that the radio
Cameroon.
show?
May have been on the radio show.
May have been.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not allowed to pick up my cigar.
Yeah, you
Go ahead.
can.
Yeah, you can smoke it.
Well,
He's dying over here. He has
speaking
to
of the
smoke.
cigar, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's time to rate it,
Yeah.
or at least talk about it.
Tia, do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, I think this is a great cigar. I love the flavor profiles. when you first light it up, well, when Caroline lit me up very nicely, it wasn't as powerful as I thought it would be, which was really good for me. And as I keep smoking it, it's starting to change a little bit, and I think it's a great cigar.
Cool.
Well, for me, this is the best that Perdomo makes. They make many cigars. I like most of them. They're all great value, but to me, this is the best of the lot. I find the spice to be just enough. I find the balance and complexity, as you were talking about it, to be fantastic. I like the way it changes, and there isn't a single element in the changing that I don't like. All the notes are good.
And the construction is important too. I mean, it's beautifully constructed.
Impeccable.
And
Yes.
also the band.
The
is
band,
nice.
the band
Yes.
is gorgeous. Yes,
forget
the
about
band is gorgeous.
Oh my God.
Joe, do you want to
You
give
know
your
you
opinion
love
on the
it.
cigar? Or is that a little too biased?
Obviously, I'm going to be a little biased,
Okay.
but it is one of my favorites also. I'm gravitating a little bit more towards the fuller bodied. I've not always been that way, but this satisfies me in all aspects of it. The construction, as Tia was saying, is impeccable. I mean, just a little bit of history on Nick. If you're not familiar, Nick was an air traffic controller at one time, so you know that mentality that it takes for that
Yeah.
job. He has transferred that into his factory and his growing and blending operations. So, yeah, the quality control on all of our cigars, I think, is uncomparable.
Cool.
Yeah, it
How
is.
about you, Rob?
I like the Maduro
you?
better. I'm smoking a Maduro. I know you're smoking a Sungrown. I like the Maduro. It's actually barrel aged in bourbon
Bourbon barrels.
barrels for 14 months. I can really taste that. It's really nice. I also get a cocoa taste out of it. I think it's very good. This is
So the bourbon
again,
barrel also, because the insides of the bourbon barrels are charred, it helps to kind of filter and clean as
Right.
the aging process also. So
Yeah.
it assists in
It
that
smooths-
aside
it
from
smooths the tobacco.
I agree with Paul. This is my favorite cigar that Perdomo makes.
I agree
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah, I think I put this in my top 25 cigars. I think it's fantastic. I get a little bit of spice. I got the same cocoa that you were talking about.
Right.
And the wrapper on this is absolutely beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
I'm,
It
I'm
is.
so happy you
It's
don't put this
absolutely
in
gorgeous.
Yeah,
cellophane.
again, back to why we didn't
Yeah.
put them in
Yeah.
cellophane
Yeah.
because of the wrapper.
Well, now
is
I'm
so
jealous.
attractive.
I wish I had a sun grown.
You know what? I actually like the. Rob said that he likes the Maduro better. I actually like the sun-grown better.
I think I would like the
I
sun-grown
I just
better.
like the spice on a sun-grown wrapper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
I
the
like
palate
the
of a billy
Maduro
goat. So
immediately
yeah.
followed by the Sungrown.
Immediately followed.
I said I like
He
the
didn't
Maduro
even take a break.
immediately followed by the
Immediately
Sungrown.
following.
nice.
Well, let's assign a rating to it.
Ooh. Oh, God. This one's hard today. 4.5.
That's good.
Right,
All
that's
right.
right where I was going to put it.
All
Yeah.
right.
4.5.
I'm right there with you.
4.75 for me.
Aw.
I gotta go high. I gotta go high. It's a great
I'm
cigar.
going to go with a 4.5 also. And as a reminder, it's on a scale of 1 to 5.
Yes.
Right.
Not 1 to 10, just so you're aware. So I guess it's going to average somewhere around a 4.55.
5.5
Because
because
you
of,
messed
because
it
of me.
up.
I'm
You
sorry.
messed it up.
5,
Now,
6,
where's
8.
Art when we need him?
Yeah, right.
For that
Exactly.
instant math.
Yeah, right. So
So we didn't.
Actually, I was going to ask, how do you go about selecting a cigar?
Can I go first?
Yeah.
yeah, go.
Okay. Well, I think as a female smoker, it's important. The first thing I think is the construction, the way it looks, because, you know, when a woman really smokes, she's out in public smoking. She's not really
It's
home.
a shame.
What happened?
I dropped my, you know,
He just steves
When-
all over the
He
place.
just- messed
when
me
your
up.
when your hand shakes,
All right, that's all right.
it's hard to
that's
hold
all
it
right.
in.
But the construction of the cigar, I think, is important first, and then to me, the smell. It helps me know what the flavor is going to be, and then smoking it. So, yeah, and the band in the box.
Oh my God.
No, of course.
Band in the box.
Of course.
Paul.
Well, I've got an interesting way of picking my cigar. Since I smoke as much as I do, the first thing I'll look for is something I haven't smoked before, because I always want to jump all over anything that I haven't tried.
I'll agree with you there.
Like right away. Once I've smoked something that I haven't smoked before, the way that I would select a cigar is I really love to just stare at different wrappers, and one of them is going to call out to me.
Yes.
You're using the Tia method?
Yes. See. Yes.
I find
I like
that
the tea.
amongst cigars that I'm familiar with, I can look at the wrapper and it will remind me of the whole experience of that cigar. And based on the mood I'm in at that moment, I can look at a wrapper and say, that's what I want.
Beautiful way of
Okay.
putting it, Paul. Beautiful.
All right. Joe, how do you pick a cigar?
I think it starts with
Brand.
the time of day, the brand, whatever, you know, when it is I'm smoking.
No, I meant
Obviously, I'm a little prejudiced, maybe. I'm not sure. But back to Tia's point, I think a lot of people, their first impression comes from the packaging. You know, the box itself, the band, and the physical appearance in the box. I think that really does have a lot to do with it. When you're looking at a wrapper that's kind of mottled and doesn't have a nice even color or texture to it, I'm sometimes a little put off. Doesn't necessarily mean that the flavor's not there,
Right.
but it wouldn't be the one that I would pick up, if I were side by side with one that had this beautiful wrapper with very small veins or
Yes.
basically no veins in it, that would be the one that I would go to.
Yeah. See, none of that.
none of that.
No, it
matters.
doesn't do anything.
None of that
Yeah,
gets
it's
him.
So
just.
how do you decide?
I just pick the way I'm feeling, mild, medium, full-bodied. I just go around something that I haven't smoked in a while. If I haven't smoked the Perdomo in a while, I'll go with the Perdomo. It's just all based on mood for me. I don't care about the band. I don't care about what the wrapper looks like.
Come on, you know you care about that band.
Not saying
Come on.
it doesn't matter at all with me, man. Sorry. It's just, I'll try anything. I've smoked bundled
I've
cigars.
heard that about you.
Thanks.
At least once. We'll try.
We'll leave that
We
one
talk too
alone.
much on the golf course. But yeah, I don't care about any of that stuff. I care about the taste of the cigar. If I haven't had the cigar in a while or ever, I'll try it. Doesn't matter what it looks like. I don't care. I'll smoke anything, basically.
Man, I'm similar to Paul. I always like trying something new, something different, something I haven't had before. And I do. I like to start the day off with something like that. A lot of it comes from, for me, comes from my mood. You know, what do I just feel like at that time, and also time of the day.
Is
Is that why
why
they call
your
you Moody
name is
Scott?
Moody
I was
Scott?
going to say, is that why he's Moody Scott?
Yeah, that's why I'm Moody Scott. Yeah, but exactly what I've had to eat. Yeah, the mood I'm in, what I'm drinking, and time of day. I tend to start the day off with something lighter and move up in
Yeah,
terms
I think
of strength.
the eating, again, is what's kind of on your palate, what's going on inside your
Right.
mouth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What you've had, oftentimes I'll go to a restaurant, I'll have a glass of wine at the bar, and I'll order an appetizer, my meal, and after I've had something to eat, the glass
Right.
of wine tastes a little different.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the same
Right,
thing with
yeah.
my cigars.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
If you've had a spicy meal, whatever it is, that affects, what I'm going to choose
That's right.
for afterwards.
No, I just had chocolate, so I don't know. For some reason now I'm tasting the
tasting
change.
the cocoa in
I'm,
the
I'm
cigar?
really
Yeah.
tasting the cocoa.
All
I
right.
don't know. I
Wow.
really am like right here.
Rob,
right
what are we
in the
talking
middle.
about next week?
Next week, we are talking about, what are we talking about?
The,
Check my notes
the
here.
Ashton VSG.
No, that was last week.
Oh.
We talked about the VSG.
Oh, wow.
You guys are really up on the ball
Well,
here.
it's going to have to be a surprise. So.
Yeah, it's a surprise.
It's going to be a surprise. Actually,
in next
actually,
week.
no, we're talking about the Fratello cigar.
Oh, I can't
Oh,
wait.
Omar.
Omar.
Yes, yes, I
Omar
follow
Big
him.
man.
Yes.
Big
Yeah.
man.
It's time
Yeah.
to
Can't wait.
wrap it up and say goodbye.
All right. Well, I just want to
Goodbye.
say bye-bye for now.
Smoke off and smoke happy.
Smoke a lot of Perdomos.
Ciao for now, everybody.
And thanks for tuning in. We look forward to talking with you next week, and happy holidays. It's that
Don't
time
forget
of
to
the
go to
year.
our website.
And we can talk about Christmas gifts and things
Yes,
like
we
that
can.
too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.